Good morning, hellos, and whatnot to all you nerds out there. We need to have a little bit of a talk about this little thing up here. Microsoft attending next week's Ubuntu Summit, because I was checking my phone. When I wake up, I always check Facebook, because according to the Danish norms, that's how families communicate nowadays. It's like on the good old Facebook. The only reason for me to have a Facebook. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I saw a lot of emotes with like, and all of that fucking shit. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And I read the comment on Facebook, and they would put like a 5th grade or a 7th grade or 9th grade hormone-filled teenage bundle of joy to shame with the way that they were conducting themselves. Basically what they're going to do is they're going to, showcase some technologies, most likely some Azure technologies and whatnot and what have you not. Which is not really that bad. And I was like, yeah, I know Linux users don't really like Microsoft that much. I don't particularly like Microsoft either, but I don't hate it. So what I did while I was laying in bed, dreaming about cake and ice cream, I read all of these comments. And you want to know why Linux is not successful? Read the comment. This is filled with so much anger, hate, judgment that it's not even comfortable to read, to be honest. It's almost all of this is hate, anger and hate. When someone is making an argument why this could be a good thing, or making an argument for what Microsoft is doing for Linux and open source, they are, well, if the other commenters had a voodoo doll with their face on it, they would be stabbing that sucker like there was no tomorrow. They are livid. And I can't stop thinking. Linux is about community. That's what I've been told for 26 years. Linux is about working together. What I've been told for 26 years. Linux is about coming together for a greater goal. What's what I've been told for 26 years. But if you read comments on anything that has to do with non-Linux things, it's none of that. Linux is all about those things as long as it's approved by the Linux gods. Linux is about getting together. Linux is about community. Linux is about working together for a higher goal. If it's about Linux. Not if it's about Microsoft, Adobe, Office, Apple Music, Object-C, which is an Apple technology. None of that. It's only about this amazing thing. Community, working together, uplifting each other, being all one, one for all for one and all that, if it's Linux technologies. And I find that really, really strange, because that's exactly what they are blaming Microsoft for doing. The exact same thing. They are blaming Microsoft and Apple for doing exactly what they are doing. They don't want to work with other people. It's their technologies to go home. It's all about them and no one else. And they don't want to help out the greater computing community. They just want to keep people on their own platform. And the Linux users and Linux developers are doing the same fucking thing. And they use excuses like, oh, Microsoft is big. Microsoft used to hate Linux and blah, 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 which is... That whole statement with Steve Ballmer is like probably almost 2 decades old now. It was not their proudest moments, and in the 90s Microsoft was really bad. But according to society, people can change, and we should allow people to change. And even the Linux community is like, yeah, we used to be a bunch of toxic people, but that was in the past. We're way more open today and blah, blah, blah. So they are willing to accept that they can change, but not Microsoft or Apple, because they're big, massive companies. Which, by the way, probably the reason why Linux is getting a lot of shit done is maybe not Microsoft alone, but if you look at who is contributing to almost any big open source project, and mostly to open source projects, especially the big ones, they are all been funded and run, or not run, but funded and keeping alive by big multi-billion-dollar companies. Those are the ones contributing the most. Those are the ones giving development the most. Those are the ones giving people power the most. Not you, not me, not someone in their basement. But it's okay for Linux to say to Microsoft, this could go away, this should not exist, they are cancer and stuff like that. But it's not okay for Microsoft to say the same. In my 26 years of living with Linux, I have noticed one thing, and it's what I'm saying right now, is that the Linux community have this weird-ass morphed idea that this will probably make it more visual and understandable. It's not okay for your kid to steal, but it's okay for my kid to steal, because we are stealing for the greater good. It's not okay for you to hit your wife or spouse, but it's okay for me to do it. It's not okay for you to run over a red light, but it's okay for me to do it. Because we are a minority, we are the smaller ones, we are not as important, we're doing it to expand all of the excuses in the world. If you don't want Microsoft or anyone else to be toxic or to look down on Linux or to talk negative about Linux, you have to stop doing the same. Imagine you have a co-worker that always is talking behind your back, always calling you a fucking idiot and you're stupid, you don't know what you're doing, they should have your job and blah blah blah. And then they are bitching and moaning about you not coming over and having a coffee with them at the lunch break and talking about dogs and cats and family matters and what to do in the weekends and stuff like that. Why do you think that is? Because you're bad-mouthing them and being toxic towards them, but you want them to talk nicely to you. I don't know if it's just me, but that seems like a fucking really weird approach to do all of these things. I'm just like, I don't get it. You don't have to like people to work with them. And here's something that, yeah, I will get flagged for. I need some coffee, by the way, it's morning here. I will get yelled at for this right now, but here's the thing. Linux will never win. Linux has not even won the server market. Linux has not won anything. Microsoft has not won anything. Being the biggest don't mean you win. If you win, there's no competition. There's no one else. You have won this. You could say that being the biggest is that they're giving you a lot of advantages, which it does, and privileges, which it does. But if you take all servers in the world, every imaginable, foreseeable server you can dream of, and put them into one big bucket and say this is the server market, Linux is not even 50%. Microsoft have the bigger cake of that. If you take web server hosting, Linux is the king, or the dominant one. If you take IoT devices, Linux is really prominent there. But it has not totally outcompeted anyone else. It's there. It's the dominant one in web hosting. It's the dominant one on the IoT device market, but has not outcompeted everyone. There's still other people playing in there with other systems and other philosophies and services. So it has not won. But why does Linux on the server market, why does Linux in the corporate world and IoT world work? Well, that's because Linux in the corporate world has a way different mentality than this here. And that's because IT professionals and IT professional companies like Ubuntu, Canonical, Red Hat, SUSE, and blah blah blah, they understand one thing that the Linux desktop users don't, or they understand two things. One of the things is what I just talked about. You cannot badmouth someone and want them to work with. You cannot go up to someone and stab them in the face, hit them in the balls, and yell and scream at them, run away with their girlfriend, and then like, hey, can you repair my car? Can you drive us to the movies? Do you want to have steak dinner with us today? You can't do that. They understand. And that is why you see a lot of massive corporate Linux companies working with people that the desktop users don't like them to work with. And they understand another thing, that there will never be a world without Windows, Microsoft, or all these other companies. They're too big. At least not in the near future, maybe in 100 or 200 years. But as the landscape looks now and looks like a long fucking time in the future, we cannot get around Apple, we cannot get around Windows. So we have to work with them. That is what Red Hat is doing. Red Hat is probably one of the longest running partners with Microsoft there is in the open source world. Nobody really talks about that. For some reason, Red Hat is not really talked about, even though they do way more and worse things with Microsoft than Canonical have ever done. But nobody really talks about Red Hat. OpenSUSE is also one of the longest running operators or people that work with proprietary software and Microsoft, but nobody talks about that either, because OpenSUSE is this little nice little lizard thing. Everyone kind of loves that. So let's not talk about that. But everyone hates Canonical because it's the biggest out there. That's another thing I also noticed in Linux community. If something gets too big, it gets hating on. Everyone hates the big ones. Everyone hates GNOME, everyone hates KDE because they're the standard, the norm. We don't want norms, we don't want standard, we want to be little snowflakes that do our own little thing in the corner, you know, so they go tidying Windows managers and all that fucking shit. Canonical, the company that probably have done the most for the Linux desktop, probably the most for the Linux desktop and have done the least with Microsoft is the one being hated the most on about what it's doing with Microsoft. Where Red Hat has worked with Microsoft since the 90s, and probably SUSE also, but let's forget about that little thing there. That's not important. That's, in my opinion, really, really massively hypocritical, to be honest. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I look at IT professionals, and the vast majority of them, there's always exceptions, but the vast majority of them, they may not like Microsoft. They may not like the services they are using. They may prefer the Linux and open source world, but they don't sit and badmouth them like these people here do. They don't go up to Microsoft sales reps and kick them in the fucking face and yell and scream at them and then expect to get a deal out of it afterwards. They know that we have to work together. Where is all of this love and community and embracing each other and all of that? Where is that? I see that in the corporate world. I don't see that in the desktop world with Linux. But in the corporate world, I see it a lot. And that's because most people here probably don't have a fucking job in IT. They probably don't have a job at all. They're just hobbyists. They probably don't really talk, and I mean really talk, to system administrators, both Windows, Linux, and otherwise. What they do is they have bought into an ideology, and they have bought it hook, line, and sinker. And then they are so blinded by that they can't seem to grasp that what Linux is doing now is exactly the way Microsoft acted towards Linux in the 90s and early 2000s. Imagine this. Let's reverse the roles here. If Linux was the dominant platform and Microsoft was trying to just be part of the world, and this is what you get from the Linux community, if it was the dominant platform, would that be okay? Probably not. I always say this to people: if you think something that you do or say is bad, imagine other people doing it, or imagine that the people you don't want to do it. Like, if you are a raging feminist and you do or say something, imagine a guy did that, or a guy said that, or a man goes their own way said that. If that sounds crazy, if they say it, it's probably crazy what you are saying also. If what a Linux user, try and imagine a Windows company or Windows user said that. If that sounds crazy and stupid, and why the fuck are you saying that? If that sounds like that when a Windows user say it, you should probably not even say it as a Linux user, because it sounds that batshit crazy. It's mind-boggling. More coffee for me. And you could ask yourself this. I've been guiding people towards Linux for 26 years. I've stopped this year. I stopped 100% recommending Linux to anyone. And you may hate the living shit out of me right now. And say, why the fuck are you doing that? Let's say I find a little newbie, a little normie. I hate that word normie. But I find like a sweet human. They just want to explore other things. They want to expand their horizons. They want to learn new things. And then they read all of this fucking shit when they go on to an article about something that is not Linux favored. Or if they go into a forum and they're like, oh, I've used Microsoft and I still like to use Office and all that shit. Is there a way to do that greatly under Linux? And you get some great, amazing help. But you also get a lot of this fucking shit here. How can I tell someone to use a system that is used to work in a place where this is not a bad word, where Apple is not a bad word, where proprietary software is not a bad word, where everyone is just working with each other, trying to work with each other? Yes, there's competition, but in the end, they're just trying to work with each other to make better software and systems. And then they go and read all of this fucking mental shit here. How can you do that? It's like telling your sister to get into a relationship with someone that you know is abusive. They may take her out on a fucking great dinner. They may call her all the sweet words in the beginning. But if they say one bad word, it's like the pimp hand is coming out. That's how I feel when I talk about Linux to new people. It's like, I feel like I know this person can be a great person, but I know that they are also highly toxic if you're not... if you're stepping out of line, the pimp hand is slapping you silly. How can I do that with a good conscience, even though I know they have some good sides to them? Linux has a lot of great sides to it and a lot of great people. But this here outweighs that massively. The best way to show Microsoft this fucking finger here: work with Microsoft. Be a better community than Microsoft. Be better towards corporate users and new users than Microsoft. Treat people better than Microsoft. Microsoft don't treat customers and its users that well, to be honest. You are just a number. Imagine Linux just listened to everyone. Didn't judge anyone. Didn't yell and scream at other companies or philosophies or operating systems and licenses. Just embraced it. Just like, yeah, I see what you're doing there. It's proprietary. We don't like that much here, but hey, you're a human. You can do whatever the fuck you want. We just think you should look into this open source thing. It's, in our opinion, way better. It gives you a lot of benefits, and hey, are they? But hey, if you want to do proprietary, go nuts. Tell us if there's anything we can help you with. We will help you. Imagine being like that. Oh, this company said bad things about Linux and open source. Yeah, they can have their opinion. They're right to have that. We feel that we are doing a good thing, a righteous thing, or we feel that it's better for the community overall. And if they can't see that, yeah, I hope we can still work together. You know, maybe they will see our ways one day, but yeah, they can have their opinion. But if they want to talk to us, we will still talk to them. We can still work together. Oh, you don't like Linux and open source? That's great. I can see why you don't like it. You have your values, we have our values. It's okay. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Come on, man. Let me show you some of the great things we can do here in the Linux and open source world. And if you still don't want it, hey, if you have questions, come back. If you want to see more, come back. If we can help you with something, come back. That is what nobody else is fucking doing in Linux. And that is not even something they do on Microsoft's side or Apple's side. They do a tiny bit of it if you have enough money. You know, the way that I just conducted myself, that's how Microsoft and Apple conducts themselves to big massive other corporations, but not the users. Imagine Linux was like that to everything, anyone, every company they don't like, every user that was not a Linux user, every license that was not a GPL compatible license. Imagine them just be like, hey, we get it. This is not a we have to win everything world. We all have to be in this world. But if you really want to, we are here, man. If you're thinking about moving over, we are here to help you. And we don't care what you have used or what you like to use and why you did it or if you even like Microsoft or do like it or don't like it or if you just want to dabble a little bit, we are here for you. That's the Linux I want. See you all later. Bye-bye.